In the common tongue, it says, one ring to rule them all. One ring to find them. One ring to bring them all. And in the darkness, find them.
This is the LEGO Icon Set 10333, Lord of the Rings Barad-du, 5,471 pieces and priced at £400, 460 euros, $460 US, 600 Canadian or 700 Australian dollars. It's a lot of money wherever you live, so is it worth it? And what about the minifigures that come with it, or the Fellbeast GWP that sold out within 24 hours? Let's find out. Firstly, welcome all, Studlord here, and we're going to start with the outside of the build. It's made up of 3 distinct sections which can be quite easily separated and put back together, also meaning that this is a great set for building with others as you can tackle separate parts simultaneously. My wife and I built it together and it was a lot more enjoyable that way. That said, if doing it alone, there's not too much repetition, so should still be fun. Now, it has to be said this isn't proportionally accurate. The real tower in lore is about 5,000 feet, so whilst this obviously isn't to scale, it's not that accurate as the base is quite dominating and the tower isn't tall enough. So if you're really after perfection in that sense, then you will be disappointed, but it's still very imposing. It is slightly smaller than the Avengers Tower though, which I do feel is a bit of an error. Could have done with being just that little bit taller. But overall, it's already hard enough to find space to display this as it is, and it doesn't need to be made any more expensive, so I do feel it's a good compromise. Same with the open back. If you closed it keeping the same detail, then the price would just be so much higher. Now, the base is highlighted by a mix of colours to represent a flow of lava, and the way this has been done to reflect up onto the pillars of the tower itself is a really nice touch. The rocks are also a big part of this, and the added texture makes a lot of difference. In fact, this whole build is a textural triumph with a point of interest wherever you look. There's also a rock on the side here you can twist, which makes the main entrance doors open and close, which is a really nice feature to have cleverly hidden in the rockwork. That operates the mechanism you can see running across here, and it is oddly satisfying to use. Then, moving on up to the middle section, we have another good use of colour, pretending to reflect up the light from the lava below onto these pillars. And of course, the rock that wraps up around it here helps in breaking up the colour again. I mean, some people have complained it's just a black tower. Kind of ironic, I think, as that's effectively what Barad-du is, but there are clever uses of colour throughout, from the little flame pieces to the doors here, which make it look like light is coming from the inside. And as you move up the tower itself, it has so many pieces, adding layers of texture to it that I think it looks really interesting. You've got these black rudder pieces, which come from the Speed Champion's Porsche 963. The same claw pieces here, used in lots of sets, but for Lord of the Rings, it was last used in the Battle of the Black Gate set from 2013. And then the spears here, recoloured for this set, which are a nice touch. Little details like this are what really make this set what it is. Then of course we've got the tip of the tower itself and Sauron's eye. I think the colours used here are perfect. The twin supporting spikes go from dark to light brown, making it look like the flames of the eye are illuminating it, and the trans orange pieces look great, especially when you have light coming from behind. You do have the light brick as well, which you can move up and down to change the position of the glow, and it works okay. I mean, in low light it certainly looks better than when your room's bright, then it's kind of lost, but it's good they included it. One thing I think would have been better is if these candle pieces had been recoloured lighter. They do show through in the wrong light. Now in the UK where I am, the box was normal, but I don't know if because of the light brick, ones in the US had to have the new warning labels on them. If anyone knows, please comment below. One thing that did surprise me was that in my box was all paper bags, no plastic, but I think a lot in the States are still coming with plastic bags in. I'd have thought it would have been rolled out more multilaterally by LEGO, but there we go. As for the interior, this actually has more playability, done more to minifig scale, which the exterior obviously isn't. Beginning over here, we have our little skeleton who can be lowered into the lava using the cog here, which is terrible fate to have suffered, of course. And then in the centre, we've got the grindstone where the orcs can be busy at work forging these brilliant new shield elements and, of course, the helmets as well. You get a few of these and weapons left over, which will be cool for army building. Be interesting to see if we actually get those orcs added onto Pick-a-Brick anytime soon. And, of course, the forge over here where it's all made. Now, if I put the minifigure in, you can see it does work to minifigure scale in here. It does have a nice amount of playability, completely different from the exterior. And then over here, we've got the fish, which is a nice little touch. It's where Gollum has clearly left it during his torture at Barad-du. So overall, a nice amount of space on the interior, an imagination of what we would potentially find. And then in the middle section, we've got the eating area with some green drink on the floor, perhaps Romulan ale, a bit of Star Trek crossover there. And on the table, just some different bits of food pieces and then some more stuff hanging up at the back, pots and pans. And of course, the chalkboard where meat is back on the menu. Unfortunately, a sticker as well. There's not a huge amount in this set, but quite frankly, at this sort of price, it would have been much nicer if it was printed. You've then got the cauldron here where they are cooking dinner over the lava flow, which you can also take out and just have a look under if you want to. Again, a nice choice when it comes to the bricks used there. And we've got a specific minifigure for this section who's chowing down on a sausage. Then moving up to the middle section, we have the throne room, which has the cool feature of being able to open to reveal the palantir on the inside. And we've also got stickers either side as well of doorways and one at the back showing off Middle Earth. Now, while the palantir is nice because it's got a printing of the Shire burning on one side and also the tree and Minas Tirith on the other, it is a shame that it was just a printed minifigure head. They didn't use the Zamisphere Bionicle piece, which they did use back in the Tower of Orthanc set from 2013. So it seems like a bit of a missed opportunity, but it is a fun added feature that you can just open and close that here. And looking around the back, this little Technic pin that you have can easily be taken in and out, and that is how you actually remove or secure the top tower in place. Then we come to the study where the mouth can be doing some work for his Dark Master, including the mithril used to fool the Fellowship into thinking Frodo had been captured. And again, we've got some stickers which are nice, but it's actually quite hard to see them when they're in here, and they're also a real pain to apply on the inside of these curved pieces. So it's good to have them, but they really were quite difficult to put in place. I found it fairly annoying. This section here, the ladder can actually be rotated round, which is again quite a nice thing to have. But the last sticker is a really nice one. This one here, 1973, if you read it backwards, it's the year that Tolkien died. And also 1937 is when Lord of the Rings first began to be written. So I really like that. I think it's a nice touch. You then also have this little side build here, which is supposed to represent the fight between Frodo and Gollum, where they're getting rid of the ring. It's okay, but quite frankly, doesn't look anything like the real thing. So doesn't really hit the mark for me. I guess it's okay they included it, but not a very good job. Moving on to the minifigures, Frodo and Sam do come with the orc helmets or alternative hairpieces, which are exactly the same as we've seen from the Rivendell counterparts. Beginning with Frodo, I do find it quite disappointing that we've got effectively exactly the same minifigure here. So the same facial expression as we saw in the previous one, where you've got him either sort of possessed by the ring or looking a little bit too jolly, quite frankly, for the venture into Mount Doom. Look, he doesn't have the cloak that we had in Rivendell, which is fine because he didn't in that part of the story, but then he hasn't been given orc armor either. The torsos and leg printing is exactly the same. It's not even a sort of beaten up version, so a bit of a missed opportunity, quite frankly, here. Don't get me wrong, it was nice that we do at least have the helmet as an option, but quite frankly, it's not going far enough. Exactly the same can be said for Samwise when comparing him to the Rivendell version. Yes, the accessories are different, but otherwise these minifigs are exactly the same. Again, the cloak is missing, which technically is correct, but then otherwise the torsos are exactly the same. Not even beaten up. The hairpiece is obviously an option with the Barad-du set, but I don't see why you wouldn't display it with the helmet. But yeah, again, why not full orc armor? Why not at least a sort of muddied up version? It does seem like a bit of a missed opportunity. The facial expressions are also exactly the same as you get on the Rivendell one, so there's nothing new there either. It is purely and solely all down to the option of the orc helmet. And as this does also come with the exact same hairpiece that you get in Rivendell, it's effectively the same character, just with a couple of different accessories and that orc helmet. So a little bit disappointing, to be honest, when it comes to Frodo and Sam in this set. Bearing in mind that we're not going to be getting a proper Mount Doom build, this was the one and only opportunity, as far as I see it, for them to actually do these characters majorly differently. So it's a shame that they haven't embraced that. Nonetheless, nice to get them. Then, of course, Gollum. This is much more impressive. It's a much better updated version from what we've got before. Obviously static, although the front arms can be moved slightly and repositioned. But otherwise, obviously, it's a molded piece, so you can't change the legs or anything. The facial expression, though, is absolutely brilliant. I think it really captures the moment where he's going for the ring. If you position it right in front of him here, it's that moment of madness where he's going to grab it and fall into the lava. So nice job there. Moving on to our baddies. First up, we have Gothmog, and it's a brilliant minifigure, it has to be said. Now, just turning it around, you can see that we've got these sort of wisps of hair on the back of his head. There's not two facial expressions, but that does make sense because that one is just so fantastic. It doesn't actually come with the shield according to the instructions, but I gave it to him because it's just such a cool extra element. The torso printing at the front is really fantastic, and I love it on the legs as well. Sadly, that doesn't continue around the sides or on the back. And also, this sort of armour that he's wearing on top, that has no printing on the back either, which is a little bit of a shame because it definitely adds a lot of extra sort of chunkiness to him. If we take it off, you do have printing on the torso underneath, both on the front and the back, which obviously makes it a lot nicer for display. But if you do want that sort of chunky over armour, you have to just have it so that, you know, you don't have any printing on the back. It's, again, a little bit of a shame to me, but that one criticism aside, I think this is a fantastic figure, brilliant to have. Moving on to the first of our more generic orcs, the printing on the front of this chap is absolutely brilliant, has to be said. Now, the shoulder pad I have added, according to the instructions, this is supposed to be put on display with the other here on the inside of the build, but I think it looks too good to actually just go to waste like that. Now, the facial expression that we have is basically either fierce into battle or otherwise just looking happy that he's about to do some slaughtering, I think. Obviously, one of the helmets you can put on here, there are a few that come with the set, so going to be good for doing battle packs. Same with the weapons. I do really like this sword, and there are a few of them in the set too. Overall, really nice printed character. Sadly not on the back or the side of the legs, but certainly on the front it really does look very detailed. Our next orc is the one you would normally find in the forge, hence the accessory, and has really nice printing front and back. The headpiece is all one, so these ears are connected to the hair and do look really good. Obviously you can choose to put a helmet on it instead if you prefer, and it does come with two facial expressions which we can take a look at here. One where he just looks mildly peeved, and then the other where he's just basically going to try and eat you. So you can choose whichever you prefer. Again, I think they've smashed the printing out the park on the front. Same on the back of the torso, just a shame that it doesn't go round to the legs as well. But overall, another really good orc. I just want to get loads of these, frankly, and build an army. That would be awesome. Now, technically, we do get two of this particular orc because the leg printing is identical and the facial expressions are the same as well. So we get the same heads, two of those. You've just basically got the choice of whether you want to have them both helmeted or both with the hairpiece with the ears. You do get both options in this set. What is different on this though is the torso printing. So both front and back, the torso is different between the two, which is a really nice touch. At least we're not going to get two identical ones in a set of this expense. The instructions also tell us to give this one a shield, which is a fantastic new piece, and there are spares included in the set, so you can always give the other ones them as well if you want to. Then our next one is our cook, who's ready to eat his sausage here. And again, nice printing on the front, especially down onto the legs and even on the feet as well. That's cool. Sadly, something that doesn't continue around onto the sides or the back. That is the same story for all of the characters here. The back printing though on the torso matches the front. It's really nice, quite iridescent in the light, and just generally has been really nicely done. Taking a look at the facial expressions, this is one who it looks like he's really angry because perhaps he's overcooked his sausage, or otherwise he's just really looking forward getting ready to eat it. And we do get another one of this as well. So it's the same story. Leg printing is identical. The torsos are different, both front and back. However, the heads are the same. So exactly the same facial expressions on these two, but the torso printing is different. And I as I said, I put the shoulder pads on this one just because I think it helps differentiate them more. It's a nice feature to have, I think, especially if this one's going into battle and the other one's just stuffing his face in the kitchens. Now, certainly in my set, there were a lot of extra helmets. There was only one of the sort of bandana, though, so that is dedicated purely to this particular character. Moving on, we come, of course, to the mouth of Sauron. Such a brilliant minifig. Really scary looking, quite frankly. I love, again, the printing on the front here. Looks fantastic. The sword is also really cool. But, of course, it's this helmet and the face itself, which is just so scary. That mouth is brilliant. You do have a little bit of hair around the back of the head and also some printing on the back of the torso as well. Unfortunately, not on the legs. It is such a shame. I think they could have done that, would have been better, but, you know, it's the way it goes, I guess. On the front, really brilliant. And this helmet piece, it's slightly rubbery to the touch, a bit malleable, so it shouldn't break if you drop it or through play, and just generally is a brilliant piece. Looks so good when you've got it in place. We have had this minifigure before in the Battle of the Black Gate set, although it is a little bit different. This one coming with the pearl grey rather than the dark bluish grey. So technically a unique minifig, and it is really good to now have it again. Of course, the main excitement is for this, the Dark Lord Sauron himself. A brilliant minifig that has been a long time coming. Comes with the massive mace that can be used to just sweep enemies from side to side out the way on the battlefield. And it's beautifully detailed. I do really like the printing on the front. Again, shame that doesn't continue around the sides, but at least we do get the cape, which is nice. And of course, this really incredible moulded piece, which we'll take a look at in a minute. Now, underneath the cape, we can see there is some more nice printing on the back of the torso, and that again has been done very nicely indeed. While there's no printing on the back of the head, at the front we have that flaming expression, which is exactly what you'd expect. As for the sort of helmet and cowl itself, it is all in one piece. Again, quite sort of rubbery to the touch, rather malleable, but that's good because it means it's not going to get broken during play or even if it's dropped. So I think a very good choice, and overall just a fantastic piece. Makes the character look so good. One thing I have to say is it contributes a large amount of the height to the character, but otherwise this is just a normal minifig. And that does seem a little bit of a shame, especially if we put the mouth alongside. You see that that height difference doesn't become all that much. Should have been a tall fig, I think, a bit like Madame Maxime that we had just very recently in the latest wave of Harry Potter sets. But otherwise, I can't complain. It is a fantastic minifigure. The last minifigure to look at is the one that technically comes with the Fellbeast GWP, and it is the Nazgul. Now, there is disappointment that this isn't the Witch King of Angmar, and I'll give you my thoughts on that in a second. This is nicely done. Obviously, underneath the cloak here, which is nicely holed, there is some printing on the back of the torso. Nothing too special, but I do really like the cloak. I think that's pretty cool. Underneath the hood, there is, of course, no facial printing. You wouldn't expect there to be, but being a regular Nazgul, it is just the hood, and the printing on the front is quite nice as well. Obviously, it's designed to be sat upon the Fellbeast, which I have to say, first and foremost, I'm really disappointed with the connection between it and the sort of stonework here. There's only two studs connecting it. You can move the claws to sort of help it try and stay on there better, which you do really need to do, because otherwise it's quite easy to knock this off, and that's a bit of a silly oversight. Also, the way the head's been done, I mean, it's not even got any teeth. I just think that's really quite a big disappointment as well. Otherwise, though, there's a lot of articulation to this, which makes it look really cool. The best bit being these wings. Those are fantastic. I think that they've been done so well. Of course, if you were able to get this on day one as a GWP, then you're in luck, because on the secondary market now, it's very expensive, well over £100 and $100 at the moment. I suspect only going to go upwards, and quite frankly, I don't think it's worth that. I mean, you can position it quite nicely, it's got a good amount of movement to it. You just really do have to be careful because of those two stud connections. So if I take this off, it's really easy to come off, because on either side you've got those two studs on the stonework. I would actually switch those pieces over, and that would then make it a little bit easier if you had 4 studs on both sides, because there's a lot of movement to this, and it's not fantastically great at supporting its own weight. I mean, it's not bad, but you just have to be careful. there's a lot of positions you can put this in. It is great for display in that respect. You just got to be a bit careful about how you do it. Now, it would have made more sense, I think, to have had this as a gift with purchase if they do a Minas Tirith set, which I hope they'll do, and I actually think that they will. I suspect it's going to be the next set that they give us. And then we could have actually had the Witch King of Angmar, because that is of course where he dies. Erwin kills him in that battle, so it would make sense to have him there rather than at this point with Barad-du. However, that said, it would have made sense then for the Fellbeast to have been a gift with purchase for that set. That's just what I suspect. Overall though, there's a nice amount of positioning that can be had to this. It does look great on display, so whilst I can't recommend you get it on the secondary market, I do think that it was a very cool gift with purchase to have been able to pick up. So what do I think overall? Well, Rivendell came with more minifigures, so part of me does think they could have given us new versions of Frodo and Sam, but it's a small gripe. Rivendell was such a beautiful set that it was very hard to follow, but LEGO has done a really good job with Barad-du, and if you have both, they're simply showstoppers. So overall, is it worth the money? Well, whilst it might not be proportionally perfect, even the Rivendell set took some liberties as well. And therefore, if you take this with a little pinch of salt, I think it's a must for any Lord of the Rings fan, and also a fantastic standalone LEGO piece that looks incredible on display. So for me, yes, it's worth it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and check out one of these two videos on your screen next. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you on the next one.